Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Albany School's 2024 Veterans Day Assembly. We are incredibly grateful to have veterans to honor here with us today. We have Mr. Gaeta. We also have Mr. Domenico. And Mr. Dodge has arranged a special video from Corporal Dodge from the 10th Mountain Division at Fort Drum as well. We thank you, all of you, for being here to educate our students and especially for your service to our country. At this time, please welcome Emmanuel Rodriguez, Helba, Jelanice Reed Tuff, Serenity Randall Perry, Ahmed Saad, Anastasia Rollins, Zanaya Kemp, Caleb Pearson, Tatiana Davis, Anderson Malaka Dutan, Cho Wine, from Mrs. Joyce and Mrs. Fernald and Mrs. Tammy Sins classes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing at the conclusion of the pledge for the singing of our national anthem. Please stand quietly. Thank you. You sounded absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to hear you sing the next song. At this time, I would like to introduce our outstanding 6th grade speakers. Erin Fernandez, Ashley Martinez, Kendra Pio Garcia, Adriana Damiano, Nyla Delanovich, and June Potts will share with you today a short history of Veterans Day, as well as leading us in the song that is considered to be the Veterans Day anthem, God Bless America.
Forces of the United States. A person who is active duty is in the military full-time. The history of Veterans Day can be traced back to the ending of World War I. At the time, World War I was known as the Great War. World War I officially ended with the signing of the peace treaty on June 28, 1919. Fighting in World War I had stopped 7 months prior to the signing of the peace treaty when an armistice went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, November 11, 1918. An armistice is an agreement made by opposing sides in a war to stop fighting for a certain time. In November 1919, President Woodrow Wilson declared November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day. Originally, the day was to be observed with parades, public meetings, and a brief suspension of business at 11 a.m. In 1938, a congressional act made November 11th a legal holiday throughout the country. The day was to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and was to be celebrated and known as Armistice Day. Initially, Armistice Day was set aside to honor veterans of World War I. In 1954, after World War II and the Korean War, the United States Congress amended the act passed in 1938 by replacing the word armistice with veterans. November 11th was now a day to honor all veterans. Veterans Day and Memorial Day are sometimes confused. Memorial Day is observed on the last Monday in May and honors Americans who died in service to their country. Veterans Day is always observed on November 11th and honors all American veterans living or dead. Australia, Britain, Canada, and France also commemorate veterans on or near November 11th. In Europe, it is common to observe 2 minutes of silence at 11 a.m. every November 11th. Today, there are approximately 23.2 million military veterans in the United States. Veterans Day continues to honor all American veterans, living or dead, for their patriotism and their willingness to serve and sacrifice during war or peacetime. Every Veterans Day, God Bless America is sung at programs throughout the country, as Americans honor those who have served in the United States Armed Forces and those who have made the supreme sacrifice of losing their lives in war. I invite the great composer Irving Berlin, while he was a soldier in World War I, God Bless America is known as an anthem for Veterans Day. Berlin directed that all royalties from the song be distributed to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America, which continues to this day. Please join us in honoring our veterans today with our voices and hearts and saying God Bless America.
Tonight with a light from above.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would please like to announce Mr. Dodge to come up and speak a few words.
Hey, good morning, everybody! You know I don't think that's as best as you can do, so let's try one more time. Good morning, everybody! That's what I'm talking about. All right, so basically, what I just wanted to say some thank yous really quick before I begin. Thank you to Mrs. Wilk, and Mrs. Paprika, Mrs. Stashenko, Mrs. Delmedico, Mr. Zumchuk, and Ms. Beatty, who helped us organize this event this morning. I wanted to thank Mr. Gade and Mr. Delmedico for making it here this morning. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the Positivity Project traits that these guys displayed when they had to serve our country. Things like bravery and perseverance, teamwork, leadership. 4 characteristics that the armed services have taught them, they have learned, and they demonstrated their time serving our country. Right? There's probably no nobler profession than defending something you believe in. So the freedoms, your lives, they put theirs in front of, right, to make sure that you have those opportunities. So with that being said, thank you, gentlemen, for all that you have done for our country, for our community, and for its citizens. So thank you. I'm going to be short and sweet, but I thank you all for being here this morning. It means a lot that we're all here to celebrate these fine gentlemen. So have a wonderful day. I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Wilk.
At this time, we have a heartfelt moment of gratitude created by Ms. Piplitza and our students that we would like to play for you.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below.
Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from falling hands, we throw the torch, be yours, to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields.
They honor you on Veterans Day. And so we thank you, and so we honor you for all your sacrifice. We honor you on Veterans Day. And so we thank you, and so we honor you.
your service to our country. You make sacrifices so we can have freedom.
Your job is hard, but you're strong and great at it. We are grateful for you risking your life for us. We know you are kind because you went into the army for us instead of running away from the situation. You are a hero. We appreciate your service. Thank you, veterans. Veterans Day is a day of honor and pride, day of an honor and gratitude for all of those who have served.
It is a day to take a moment to reflect on the importance of our veterans' service to this great country and the sacrifice made by our fallen heroes.
We thank our veterans on this day for their courage, their relentless efforts, their fierce determination, and their loyalty. Thank you for your service from Miss Wolf's third grade class at Albany Elementary.
Love to thank Mrs. Beatty, Mrs. Golds, and Mrs. Colucci for their outstanding help with making that video. Thank you all so much. And Mrs. Beatty, thank you. At this time, I believe Mr. Dodge has had some kindergartners give our veterans a wonderful gift. Again, veterans, we would love to thank you again for your service. At this time, I believe we are going to continue on with just our 5th and 6th grade interviewers. So grades K through 4. If you could please look to your teachers for dismissal, and I would love to compliment you on your outstanding teamwork today. Would you like to stand? Right into the microphone. Go ahead.
Do you get in trouble if you fight a teammate?
Hey, answers.
It's on.
You get in trouble fighting with teammates, of course you do. It's just like you do in school. You fight with your students, your friends, you're going to get in trouble. Very strict regulations you follow. Okay?
Consequences. I like that. Who else has a question?
Do you prefer being in the military or being out of the military?
Yeah, so I got out of the military in 2022 and I missed it. So I definitely, as far as serving, it was something that I really enjoyed. I loved the work. So I preferred when I was in. Thank you.
Oh, that was an interesting answer. Rocco, I'll repeat it into the microphone for you, buddy. No problem.
Alexa.
Addison.
How did you stay brave while you were in the military?
She said, how did you stay brave while you were in the military?
How did you stay brave?
How did you stay brave? It's a hard question.
You just do what they train you to do, and you be prepared for anything they want you to do.
So the training is what helped you keep your fear at bay?
Yeah, and I would say also you stay brave for the men and women that you serve with.
I like that. Teamwork. Who else has a question? Gabrielle.
Nice and loud. Just say it loud.
If you were in the war, how did it feel?
If you were in a war, how did it feel?
If you were in a war,
How does it feel?
how did it feel? Oh, well, first of all, I did serve when the war was going on in Vietnam, way back in the 1970s. you always fear for your life, and you're being trained to go into combat to kill somebody, or they're going to kill you. Okay?
Food for thought. Michael, how about it?
How did you feel about serving in the army?
How did you feel when you served in the Army?
I felt like a different person. I went into the Army when I was 24 years old. I was a school teacher. I was married. I had a kid. So my whole life changed. And I learned a different perspective on life. And I was taught different things, which I actually took into my classroom and used.
What amazing history. What branch were you in, Mr. Delanco?
The U.S. Air Force.
And you were in the U.S. Air Force, just like my grandfather. And how did you feel when you were in the Air Force?
I would say the biggest thing for me, it changed. I built my self-esteem and self-confidence. So a lot of things came out of that where I grew a lot more confident in myself. I was achieving things that I might have struggled with before I was in the military. So it did a lot of positive things, and I met a lot of great people from all over the world that, I didn't grow up in a school like this. A lot of the kids that I grew up with, we all looked the same, we all talked the same. There wasn't much diversity, so it was really nice for me to get out and meet different people and go overseas and meet a lot of people and kind of expand, my thoughts and who I was.
Another outstanding point. You were going to say something else?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get asked this question, but why did you serve in the military? Well, I'm quite old. Okay, let's just say I'm 78 years old, and when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, back then I didn't have a choice. They had what they call a draft. If your name came up, you got a letter and say you're going in the Army, whereas he volunteered to join. Big difference.
I've got one more back here, and then I'm going to head to the other side. Nice enough.
What was a regular day like while you were in the military?
What was a regular day like while you were in the military?
So for me, being in the Air Force, I was an electronics technician. So a lot of the days were just like any other typical job, except I was in a uniform. So really the standard typical day, I just got up, I went to work in the morning, I did my job. The only difference was we did a lot of physical training. So there was always time for physical training and doing that sort of thing. So that was a typical day. When I was deployed, it was a lot different. You were living in tents with a bunch of people, constantly just working nonstop and trying to support, the men and women that were fighting in the war. So a lot of difference, but a lot of the times it just feels like a normal job within uniform.
I want to add one thing to that. A typical day in the military is every minute of your time is accountable by the military. If they tell you have to be here at 8 o'clock, you have to do this at 8:07, you got to do that at 8:15, you have to do it. You can't go off and hide. You can't take a minute off, you can't take an hour off. You're obligated to the military.
Good work ethic. Let's grab a question over here. Thanks a lot.
What branch were you in and what was your job?
What branch were you in, and what was your job?
I was in the United States Army, branch off into the United States Reserve, which means I had to serve 6 years. Back then they called them weekend warriors. Okay? My job in the military was working in the office, multiple tasks to do. I never got deployed over active duty during Vietnam, and I had just a regular job. Once you do what you got to do and then you get assigned, like you said, it's a daily job. But again, there's no time off. If they blow time to get up at 6, you can't sleep to 7. Because breakfast is 6 to 7. After that, the door's shut, there's no breakfast.
Yeah, so as I said, I was in the Air Force. My job, when I first started, I was an electronics technician. So I fixed mainly ground radios that they use to communicate with the aircraft. And I also worked on the antenna towers and repaired antennas. But then eventually over my career, it broadened into other aspects of, I got into cyber and IT with computers and things like that. And then management, quality, and human resources in the end.
A lot of computerization in the Air Force, I would imagine. Amazing. Let's take a couple more questions over here.
Nice and loud right to that microphone.
If you were interested in joining the military, what is the process of doing so?
If you were interested in joining the military, what is the process of doing so?
So you can always go to your local recruiter, but I would highly advise you to talk to somebody that you know that's in first. They're going to give you, they're going to help you kind of make decisions and make the right choices. Recruiters have a great job. They're a huge part of the military. We need to recruit. We need to bring people into the military, but they're driving, sending people where the numbers may be a little bit low. So the most important thing to me is find a veteran, use them as a resource and ask questions, and figure out what you want to do. Like we said, it's a lot like a normal job, so you don't have to join the military and do whatever they tell you to do. You can pursue whatever career that you want, so that if you get out early or if you retire like I did, you can go into that same field of work when you get out.
All right, I think we have time for one more. On your feet, young man.
What are some of the difficulties that you have encountered in your branch of the military?
The question was, what are some of the difficulties you encountered in your branch of the military?
Difficulties you encounter for me almost every day, because you're doing something that you weren't doing. Training to march. You think that's easy, but it's not easy. Training to carry 50 pounds of equipment and running 5 miles. Anything that you are exposed to in the military, I bet you have never done before. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and a lot of times, like, even if I trained on, radios, like I was saying, and electronic repair, when I deployed, I may be looking at a totally different set of equipment. So now I have, 6 months to learn this and fix it on the fly, and it's different when obviously you're doing your job while you're deployed at war. You don't have some of the comforts of home, and you have to kind of make do, so you got to be able to adapt and work with people. So it's a lot of like the unknown. I had never got on an airplane before I joined the military, and then I flew everywhere from Hawaii to Portugal to the Middle East. So you're constantly doing new things and having to figure things out that you didn't have any experience in.
Wow, that was a lot of good advice on being a problem solver and being a good learner. At this time, I do apologize if we did not get to you with your questions, but we do have a video, I believe, from Mr. Dodge. Is that right?